you're running.
So you're not coming that close in if you're on a ship.
Yeah.
So I think ships only lasted about 2 years.
You can see the clock.
Thank you so much.
Did you really?
Welcome aboard.
How's it going? I go left first? Cheers.
So did he discover Santa Barbara coming up from Mexico and going up?
I'm assuming.
The voyage officially started in 1542 in Navidad, Mexico. But it's important to know where the ships were built. Well, Juan Rodríguez Cabrillo was an encomendero in Guatemala, so the people of Guatemala were very important in the creation and the building of the 3 ships that were part of that 1542 voyage. So the 3 ships would have been the San Miguel, La Victoria, and the San Salvador. So the San Miguel would have been known as a scout ship. So every time that they needed a scout, for example, a piece of land before they landed on it, they would naturally use the smallest of the 3 ships to do that. So that was the San Miguel. La Victoria was known as the, I would say, supply ship of the 3. So if you're going to be out in the water for long periods of time, for example, then you are going to want to look forward to some dry, salty fish, biscuits, legumes, things like that. So, legumes, dry fish, everything to look forward to. You were also allowed to have up to 1 liter of dirty wine, 1 liter of dirty water a day to stay hydrated. That's an example of what they would store on the supply ship or on board. Then the third of the 3 would have been the San Salvador, the largest of the 3. Those ships were then sold to what was then known as Navidad, Mexico, so just south of Baja California. So that's where the voyage started. As they made their way north, what they were really hoping to find was a route that would lead them to China. And hopes to find spices. The spices during that time were really worth their weight in gold. So cinnamon, nutmeg, cocoa seeds, like things like that. Everything that we can find for fairly cheap today, they were hoping to find during that time for riches. However, they didn't find spices. They didn't find China. But what they did find was what we know today as the coast of California. That voyage would have had multiple stops. But the 2 I touched on are the ones sold by the National Park Service. So in Cabrillo National Monument, we tell the story of their first encounter with people alongside their voyage. So it's important to acknowledge that you cannot discover something that's already been inhabited. So during that time, they would have encountered the first people of what we now call today Cerrillo, California, and that is the Kumeyaay. So the Kumeyaay, what history tells us is they've been practicing their traditions on that land for more than 10,000 years, including today. So they would have had an encounter there for a few days before they made their way onward up north, and eventually they would have reached Channel Islands. And I mentioned Channel Islands because it's also part of the National Park Service, but also because Juan Rodríguez Cabrillo would have bounced his way off one of the ships one day and unfortunately fractured his leg, which would have led to his death as he died from an infection. The journey continued on without him. They would have gone more onward north up to Northern California, almost Oregon, before the winter weather would have forced them to turn back around, back to Navidad, Mexico. So that's a glimpse of what their voyage would have looked like. While you're on board is what life during that 1542 time would have been if I was on board with them. So if you can imagine, if I would have squeezed 80 to 90 of you in there today. So imagine life, 80 to 90 men, and I say men because that's all we have documented, but there's men from all walks of life, clergymen, military men, sailor men, little 8 to 9-year-old little boys, indigenous men, all on board on this mental journey together, physical journey. Mental because they were going into the unknown. They didn't know what they were going to encounter. They didn't know for how long they would be out in the water. They didn't know if they were going to make it back. Unfortunately, a lot of them didn't make it back, including Juan Rodríguez Cabrillo himself. Physical because it's going to be crowded, right? There's not going to be a lot of privacy. If anybody had any privacy, it would have been the captain. You didn't see the captain quarters today. You would have encountered a lot of disease because it would have been dirty, a lot of disease. You would have probably seen a lot of your mates pass away while they were on board. You would have encountered a lot of bad weather. It would have been probably very wet while you were on board.
Can you go up there?
Make a pirate sign. All right, ready? On the count of three, say R.
Well, they say all night. We're neighbors.
Oh, yeah. Well, yes and no. Cabrillo tried to tuck in behind the headland because he was facing the northwest.
Yeah, no, I like this
So they would often anchor at night, but not everyone.
Yeah.
Danny? Bye-bye.
And you have like yeah, these people are all in line ahead of us.
There you go. Even Cabrillo has to go Thank you.
He's fallen over several times today. We keep picking him up, but he said, I had a hard night.
Had a hard night, yeah.